So I wonder what way Hollywood is gonna nostril rape my childhood memories next. Let's do this. So let's forget for a moment the way Hollywood likes to reboot movies or TV shows that had a cult following back in the day and populate them with MTV rejects or something, and instead look at properties that they haven't made into movies yet and how they're gonna fuck those up. See, I've got a list, not a long list, but a list of things that I would love to see made as movies that I hope they never, ever, ever make, because Hollywood will fuck them up. You know they will. They'll never get it right. They'll never make these things look the way they looked in my head when I read them as a kid. Ever. First up, and they're already making this one, Ender's Game. I mean, come on. This was a brilliant book. So much fun. And as much as I may think that Orson Scott Card is kind of a Mormon psycho, he did a good job on this one. For those of you who don't know about Ender's Game, it's about a kid who's apparently an absolute genius, that they start training to be a military commander to fight this alien species that's already invaded Earth twice. There's absolutely no way any further explanation I could give would do the book justice. You just need to read it yourself. And when you do, you'll understand why they could never make a good movie out of this shit. But they're already trying. And okay, I kind of agree with Harrison Ford being cast as Graf, but still, man, they'll never get it right, and you know they won't. But they're gonna try anyway, 'cause Hollywood's after a buck. Next up, Stranger in a Strange Land, Robert Heinlein. Now, this book is awesome. It's about a guy who was raised on Mars by Martians, because in this universe there's Martians, after his parents crash-landed on the planet in the first Mars expedition. He's brought back to Earth, and we see humanity through the lens of someone who hasn't been through what the rest of us has been through, who doesn't take for granted what we take for granted. And it certainly takes a pointed look at religion. I may have always been an atheist, but Stranger in a Strange Land really helped solidify my atheism. It's an absolutely brilliant book that Hollywood would never, ever get right. I don't want to see them fuck that one up. And you know they would. Hollywood would never get it right. Next up, the Vlad Teltos series. Oh, these books are so much fun. Stephen Bruce did an amazing job. It's set in a world where humanity is the minority, and this other race, the Dragarans, who are much taller and much longer lived, are actually the dominant species, at least in the town that Vlad Teltos lives in. Vlad's a human, and he's made a name for himself in what is essentially the underworld of this universe. He's basically a drug lord and an assassin and a witch, and it's amazing. These books are so much fun, and Hollywood would never, ever, ever get them right. Ever. And you just know Hollywood would fuck them up. Believe me. Now we've got the Vorkosigan Saga by Lois McMaster-Bujold, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've never heard it said. But these books are awesome. It's a sci-fi universe that's really way too complicated to explain, but it's all about this guy named Miles Vorkosigan, who was damaged while he was still in the womb, so he's very small, and his bones are very brittle. He's raised in a society that's all very militaristic, and so the fact that he's kind of physically weak makes everyone look down on him. But the fact is, he's a genius, and he makes a name for himself using his brains instead of his brawn, and he becomes a mercenary commander. He goes undercover, covert, does all kinds of wacky stuff. It's an absolute blast, and there is no way Hollywood would ever get these right as a movie. It couldn't happen. And you just know Hollywood would fuck them up. Last, but by no means least, Elfquest. Oh, I love Elfquest. You have no idea. I don't even know how to explain Elfquest to you. It's about a tribe of elves that ride on wolves, and they are eventually driven from their forest home. They meet other elves. They discover their true origins. It's just way too complicated. You have to read it. It's brilliant, though. Awesome. Hell, I'm actually named after one of these characters. Trust me. They've been trying to get this made into a movie for ages, literally for decades. They've talked about animated, they've talked about live action. It's just never actually happened. Hell, they've talked about cartoon shows like Saturday morning type stuff. They've talked about direct-to-video releases, whatever. Hell, they were just turned down again, specifically because the studio did not want to interfere with The Hobbit. But here's the problem. As much as I would love to see an Elfquest movie, they're not going to get it right. It'll never match what I saw in my head from reading those comic books. Even if all they do is fuck up the voices, it'll be nostril-raping my childhood. I love Elfquest. I don't want to see that happen to it. And you know Hollywood would fuck it up. You know they would. Now I'm sure I could name other books, other comics, even video games, whatever, other properties that I'd love to see made into movies, but I only want to see them made well. If Hollywood can't get them right, if Hollywood can't get the mood right, if Hollywood can't get the feeling right, then I don't want to see them done at all. As disappointing as it would be to not see them up on the big screen, I don't care. Do them right, or don't do them at all. Hollywood, quit fucking with my childhood memories. Seriously. And now it's your turn. What do you cherish? What do you care about? What stories mean a lot to you, preferably sci-fi fantasy, but not exclusively, that you don't want to see made into movies? Or more specifically, you do want to see them, but you don't want to see them fucked up. If they can't be done well, you don't want to see them done at all. Tell me in the comments section. Until next time, fellow space travelers, have fun. Vote me down and I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.